Hello, welcome to the Watermark WaterCooler. We're here talking to Nicole, our copywriter. Nicole, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was originally went to school for journalism, which is what I got my degree in. And I've been a newspaper reporter on the journalistic side, but I've also been a content copywriter as well. So using what I learned in journalism to translate over into copywriting is what I'm doing now. And I'm a mom of 3 kiddos. I've got twins and then another one. And I'm just busy writing. When I'm not writing, I'm momming.
I like it. How do you feel like that journalism background and now this like marketing side of things, like that's a big like mental shift, right? It's about writing content, but the journalism side is so, I've heard some of the struggles along the way where like, oh, this shift in kind of thinking, how's that gone? And what do you think has changed your mindset kind of from that journalism side?
I actually think it has more in common with they have more in common with each other than differences.
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of a perspective switch,
Mm-hmm.
where in journalism, you are sort of an observer of the story, and you're relaying that information.
Yeah.
As a copywriter for an agency, you are not only observing what the marketing needs are and the strategy needs are, but you are also trying to convey emotion and action with your words. Rather, in journalism, you're also conveying emotion, but the person reading it is the person taking in the information, and they decide what to do with it. With content writing, you're more of a guide and leading the reader into the action that you'd hope that they take, which is find a solution, learn something they hadn't already before. And so it's an interesting switch, but it's also keeps things interesting as well, because you have to continually pivot and shift depending on who your client is and what their needs are.
Yeah. Which is a good transition, because now we're kind of talking about, people reading stuff. Like, do people read things still? Like, that's a big conversation that kind of you hear a lot of, is like, people don't read anymore. Like, how do you think about that? What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I hear, complaint. Sometimes people complain, kids these days don't read. And actually studies prove the opposite, where people are reading more than ever, because content is readily available all the time. You're reading email, you're reading text, you're reading books online, you're reading transcripts for YouTube videos, you're reading closed caption on the train when you can't listen to the audio, or you forgot your headphones or whatever. So actually people are reading more, but the change is that there's this saturation of content that people are now in control of what they're reading, and they're choosing what to ignore and what they want to read more readily available.
Yeah. I mean, and that's got to be like drive you a little bit nuts. I know it drives me nuts a little bit, because we have like a goal that we're trying to get somebody to. And like we're saying, people are skimmers. They're going to go to exactly what they want and ignore the rest, whether that's an ad or maybe important content that we're trying to get them to understand, like why we do what we do, or why our client does what they do. So it's kind of, we've just gotten to a point of a society where it's like instant gratification. And how do we solve for that instant gratification stuff? I know there's some strategies that we use to try and help like make reading a little bit more simple, or
right.
Yeah.
Well, in the past, I mean, before the digital age, we'd have the newspaper, and you'd be skimming the newspaper, and there's ads right in front of your face. You can't ignore it, because your eyes have to literally move past to continue reading. But now they have like content readers have banner blindness. If it doesn't have anything to do with them, you don't even realize that it's there, like this pop-up ad or obnoxious banner or something like that, which isn't effective, because we've evolved in, like you said, that instant gratification. If it has nothing to do with me or solving my problem or what I'm looking for at the time, like I'm not even going to pay attention. I'm going to click the X and move on with my day. And I think it's not just using your words to get somebody to read your thing, but it's understanding the person reading it, really think it's psychological just as much as I'm just a good writer, so somebody has to read this. Well, if you don't know you're a reader, then they're not you could write the best piece of content and it's not going to be in front of anybody if it's not getting in front of the person who needs to be reading it. Which is where SEO comes in, knowing your target audience, identifying your buyer personas, and all of the inbound stuff that we focus on. That's not just putting a really loud ad in front of somebody. Yeah,
it's meeting them
hoping they'll read it.
It's meeting them where they're at in their journey. And then, there's some other things too, like bullet pointing content and reducing it, like making it sweet and to the point, leaving all the, like having clear headlines so that people can jump to the section that they're interested in.
And that's where, again, the kind of overlapping from journalism to copywriting is, the first thing you'll learn in any journalism class is show, don't tell.
Yeah, sure.
And so you can do that with less words. I want to say this. How can I say a whole paragraph in one sentence? It's hard, but
it's very hard.
Having people be able to know exactly what you're talking about. That first headline, that first lead, that first sentence. That's where the person decides, is this relevant to me or am I? It's not relevant to me right now. I'm going to move on.
But one other thing that you kind of were talking about that I think really leads into a good conversation is this like storytelling, right? Like how do we, help tell somebody's story to make it more interesting and engaging?
I think the way I approach business and life is, everyone has a story to tell. And again, that comes back to, are people going to listen to it if they can relate or they're interested in it, or it's just really fascinating? They're going to learn something that they didn't even know. Like
that's a great transition into like this storytelling and how important storytelling is. And, how do you show, not tell? And, how do you approach that?
Yeah. I think that when you're writing content, it's important to keep in mind that humans are reading your content. It's not, you're not forcing somebody to do something, because that's not authentic. It's not genuine. And the person reading it can tell that they're trying to be pushed into something, like push marketing. But storytelling comes from a different angle, where you're speaking to them about them. And having them see themselves in the content that you're writing is telling their story, but it not only tells their story, but it tells your company's story as well. And when those two align, that's when you can find your ideal customer to engage with you, or whatever
I think
you want. Yeah.
Storytelling is also, to me, an educate. Like, how do we educate somebody? Like, and we talk about inbound as this like, hey, we're nurturing you by educating you in areas that are relevant to you in your journey on where you're at, and whether that's the buying process or there's a lot of different areas that inbound can work.
Well, and that goes back to the showing and not telling. Instead of a big ad that says like, buy this now, you need this, buy it, and it's just this obnoxious ad. You can also come from the perspective of letting them, like your content reader, your consumer, your prospective client, your leader, whoever is super smart, and treat them like they're smart and that they can decide if they need it or not. That's not really what we're here for, to force them into a decision. It's helping them make an informed decision for whatever goal we have in mind. And at the end of the day, it's solving for your prospective clients' needs, pain points,
problems.
not necessarily forcing them to have a problem or because that's disingenuous. And I think that consumers are super savvy these days, and they can smell that a mile away, and it's just it's not. It's not a value. I love that you said
that, because I think that is so true. Whether it's with stock photography or content or whatever it is, I really do think that you can, as a consumer, we are so hammered with all this stuff all the time that we've really honed in, like, that's genuine or that's not genuine.
Yeah. Well, think about, like, if you're listening to a podcast and somebody keeps mentioning products over and over and over, you're like, is this person genuinely wanting to, like, help me, or do they just want me to, like, buy a product from them? Yeah. And some people, you know, are genuine and just are affiliate marketers, and that's awesome. But I think it's just, again, you have to be careful in the way you approach it, and you have to be empathetic, relevant, and authentic. And I think that takes your content a long way. Like you said, whether it's images, video, blogs, videos, or video scripts, anything like that.
I think really it's a key piece of what is going on in the world. Like we say, content is king, and there's a reason for that. But anyways, just, is there anything that you like a tip or any last minute thoughts on content?
I hear from a lot of people, like, writing can be really intimidating because somebody's like, I don't know how to say this. And I'd say my tip is, if you need to write anything, whether it's ad copy, a blog, don't let the blank page intimidate you. Just get it out first. And they say the pen is mightier than the sword, but the eraser is a pretty good weapon too. I like it. Because you can always erase, you can always delete, you can always cut. And don't be afraid of the blank space.
And if you're lucky enough, you can always have an editor like Nicole.
With, like, the handy red pen. It's
that
very
can come
exciting.
in and, like, make it actually make sense.
Right.
Well, as always, thank you so much for watching the Watermark WaterCooler. Thanks, Nicole, for joining us this week. As always, give us your thoughts, comments. If, give us a like. We want to continue to build this content for our audience. If there's anything that you want to see in the next, about agency life, about anything that we do, really, we'd be more than happy to shoot a video about it. And until next time, we're signing out.